Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. Back at it and ready to have some fun with Larceny Barrel Proof. But hey, before we dive into Larceny, quick update. Huge shout out to my man, Nick M. Nick is my newest patron, so Nick M, I appreciate you, my man. Nick is also from Cincinnati, home of cousin Anita and my mom's side as a whole. So huge shout out to Nick M. Thanks for supporting the Bourbon Judge, my man. Appreciate you, as well as thank you to all my patrons who support the Bourbon Judge as well. You know, each and every one of you guys all help for all this to come to fruition, so I appreciate each and every one of you. And then last but not least, thank you for everyone else, obviously, who watches the channel. Thanks for all the love and the support. Love all the comments and insights, and people give me, feedback once in a while. I love that too, so I appreciate that also. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So Larceny Barrel Proof. So when you think about Larceny as a whole, what kind of comes to mind? Number one is a Heaven Hill sub-brand. Heaven Hill sub-brand, very similar in many ways to Elijah Craig Barrel Proof for the fact of it's released typically 3 times per year. You have the A, which is in January, B, which is May, and C, which is September. Both around, this is like a $60 MSRP, this one's like $65.70, so they're both in that same price range. The key major difference though from Larceny versus Elijah Craig is that Larceny is actually a wheated bourbon. So the mash bill is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and then 12% malted barley. So that's the key difference. But when you're really thinking about these two products, in many ways, they honestly do play in the same sandbox because they're both Heaven Hill sub-brands. They're both affordable, and I say affordable, but slightly like above like that $65 range. So paying a little bit more, but not a ton, right? You're not breaking that $100 mark, which is a good thing. And in a lot of cases, if you're out there, you're looking for something that has, a lot of great qualities, you can pick up either one. So for me personally though, honestly, I have historically not been a fan of of Larceny Barrel Proof. Larceny small batch, I can rock and roll with that each and every day. But the Larceny Barrel Proof, when that first came out a couple years ago, Bourbon Judge was not impressed. I bought that first bottle. It sat for a long time until I finally, myself and other friends enjoyed it. Well, I didn't really enjoy it, but my friends enjoyed it. It sat for a long time. I just always felt like it lacked depth. And then I tried all the other releases that came out in the last couple of years. Either friends gave me different samples or I was at different bars and I was able to try those as well. But I never was a big fan of the Larceny Barrel Proof product. Again, I always kind of felt like it lacked depth. And honestly, in many ways, I was comparing it in a lot of ways to Elijah Craig. And I always felt like, like the 19s and the 20 of Elijah Craig just blew Larceny away. But like they say, hey, you need to give things a chance. At least a second time, Bourbon Judge. Open up. Be the new kind of Bourbon Judge in 2022. So I'm trying to do that. So I saw it on the shelf and I was like, let's go ahead and just buy it and grab it, review it on the channel and see, right? You never know. Maybe it's changed. Last thing I will say is that this is actually the C921. So you did not hear me wrong. This is the C921, which means it should have released back in September of 2021. Obviously, there were some delays. There was a lot of different delays, right? The whole world with the pandemic and so forth. There's a lot of different delays for a lot of different reasons. So this did not release in September of 21 as it should have. It actually released in super late December. And by the time it really started to make it to the shelves was actually in January. I found it myself earlier this week. So in Maryland, it just dropped in Maryland, at least by me in Maryland, earlier this week. And I found it on the shelf, again, for $60. I was like, hey, why not? Get on the channel. Let's go from there. So let's dive into this a little bit. I'm going to pour a little bit. So from an age statement, it's anywhere, there's not the exact, but it's about anywhere from 6 to 8 years. So that's a key difference as well. Obviously, Elijah Craig, as it says here, is 12 years. This is, I don't want to say only, because it's still a really good age, 6 to 8 years on average. This bottle here, the C921 that just released, this one has a proof of, let me just turn it around real quick, 122.6. So you guys can see that, 122.6. All right, let me go ahead and close that up. So I'm going to go ahead today. I'm going to change it up. I'm going to give you not one, but 2 different verdicts. You didn't hear me wrong. 2 verdicts. Number 1, is this a buy? If you see it on the shelf by itself, is it a buy? And then number 2, at the end, I'm also going to compare it to Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A122. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and keep this one out. So why am I doing that versus like the C921 of Elijah Craig? Primarily, I'm going by what's still on the shelf. Odds are, if you're out in the store, shopping for Elijah Craig, probably not going to find any C921s left. I'm not saying that none exist. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's some stores that probably still have a couple leftover bottles, but the majority of Elijah Craig barrel proofs that you're going to see on the shelf now is the most recent release, which is the A122, which I reviewed just earlier this week. And I said, again, it's a good buy, just didn't wow me, but it's definitely really good. I know a lot of people out there love it. I'm going to pour this one also. Ugh, goodness gracious. Woo, that cap did not want to come off. Obviously, it knows how I was a little upset with it. All right, let me get a little bit here. You're going to notice that the Bourbon Judge is pouring very small pours today. Why is that? That's because I decided to go out and one of my buddies who's a huge bourbon fan had me over. He has a huge collection. And let's just say all those little small pours, yeah, they definitely add up. They definitely add up for sure. Oh, man. Good times, though. Good times. All right. So $60 bottle coming in 122.6 proof, aged 6 to 8 years. Is it a good buy? Is it worth buying? Or is it leaving on the shelf? Let's see. All right. Color-wise, very nice. Deep. Very nice. Let's get into the nose real quick here. Oh, man. Very nice on the nose. I like this. Very deep and rich. Tons of like, wow. I get a lot of chocolate. I don't remember that from the last time I had Larceny Barrel Proof, which actually just a couple months ago, one of my patrons sent me a sample. But tons of chocolate, at least in this batch, which this is a different batch than the last one that my patron sent me a sample of. But tons of chocolate, tons of like caramel, brown sugar, some leather. Maybe even some notes in the far back. I mean, far back. Wow. Yeah, some faded notes of like some burnt orange peel, but I'm talking like very distant. Very nice on the nose. I would say this is actually a really nice nose. Not the best in the world, but very nice as a whole. All right, hey, I say this each and every week. Peace, cheers, salute. I appreciate everyone out there. 3 quick, easy favors. Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, drop me a comment. If you've already tried this, let me know your thoughts. And then last but not least, please make sure you also subscribe and also hit the bell so you get the notifications each and every time I put out content. Cheers, everybody. Ooh. Wow. Wow. That's very, very thick. Very robust in the mouth. Everything. Hold on, there's a little bit left. Let me just finish this real quick. Wow. Everything from the nose transferred to the palate at 122.6 proof. That is extremely robust. In my opinion, it actually sips maybe even closer to like a 128, 130 proof. That's very bold, very flavorful, a very long finish. And what's different though is that the orange peel that was in the nose didn't come through the palate. The palate is a lot more caramel, brown sugar, and oak forward. So if you love an oak forward bourbon, you probably would love this. All right, so first and foremost, I need to give you judgment number 1. Is this a buy? Is it worth leaving on a shelf? 1 second. All right. So, the verdict is in. Is this a buy or is it just a leave on the shelf? Judgment is in, folks. This is an absolute buy. This is amazing. I am honestly actually blown away with this pour. And I mean blown away. It's that damn good. I wasn't expecting all that. It's so robust. It's so thick. It's so creamy in the palate. Extremely creamy, very thick, very robust. A long finish for only a 6 to 8 year age bourbon. That is actually amazing. Now we are on to the battle. I know it's not a blind. I didn't, Mr. Judge is not here, so it's not a blind. Unfortunately, so I had to pour it myself. But let's see how it compares to Elijah Craig. Again, I know this is a wheated bourbon. This one's not. But at the end of the day, they're both a fair, affordable barrel-proof bourbon. So if you see both of them on the shelf, right, the A122 of Elijah Craig or the C921, you're probably wondering, hey, I only have like $70 today. Which one am I going to go ahead and buy? So hopefully this judgment will help. All right, let's get into Elijah Craig now. Now I've had this one now for a couple weeks now. It's opened up a little bit, just a smidge more. I had it actually at my buddy's house the other night also. That was one of many pours. All right, let's check this one out real quick. All right, so very, not similar to this, but very similar to the first time in the original episode when I reviewed this one. The only key difference I will say, now that it's opened up a little bit more fruit in the nose. A little bit more like blackberries, some blueberries in the nose, which is not very traditional. I will say that. It's not very traditional for Elijah Craig to have so much like fruit in it. So this is definitely unique from that standpoint. But even the first time I reviewed it, I just didn't think that it like was so special. But hey, it's opened up a couple weeks, so maybe it's even better now. We shall see. All right. Cheers, everybody. Okay. All right. Let me get a little bit more just to make sure that's I can really dive into this one a little bit. All right. So, I'm going to explain my decision. I'm going to wait and tell you everything about the palate and the finish in a second. So, the second judgment comes in. If you see both of these on the shelf, Larceny, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, A122, Larceny C921, which one am I grabbing if I can only afford to buy one that day? Just one. Both are buys. Obviously, they're both a buy. I already said that's a buy. The original video of this one, I also said is a buy. But which one is better and why? I'm going to explain that. The second verdict is in. If you are buying just one bottle, there's no doubt in my mind, you have to, and I mean have to, buy Larceny. They're not even in the same ballpark, folks. I'm talking not even in the same ballpark. For me and me only, in my opinion. Why Bourbon Judge? I will say, now that I've had this one for a couple weeks, it's opened up a little bit more. Definitely got a little bit more fruit in it than what you traditionally would not get in Elijah Craig. Very nice nose, very nice palate, tons of like brown sugar, caramel oak, but it's just slightly thinner, which is odd for a 12-year aged bourbon. It's slightly thinner in the palate and the finish. Palate and the finish is here, and then it slowly kind of fades away. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. It's just not fantastic. In my opinion only, this screams amazing. And I mean amazing. And notice that the proof is only what? So this is 120.8 and this is 122.6. So let's call it 2 points or 2 proof points higher. And that's not the reason why. This is so much more bold, more robust. It has a ton of depth, tons of chocolate, tons of caramel, brown sugar. It's way more well-rounded, and I mean way more. This is like the pros. I don't want to say minor leagues. That's kind of bad, but that's kind of, let's call it like, this is like the Jets. And this is like the Patriots with Brady, right? You're in the same league, but only one team is winning the Super Bowl year after year. At least they were back when he was playing. This is amazing. I rarely buy a second bottle. That might be worth going out and getting a second bottle. It's that damn good, in my opinion only. Hey, real quick, until the next time, make sure you catch me on Tuesday. So 2 more days. Tuesday, coming up 2/22 at 8 o'clock Eastern. I will have Four Gate Whiskey Company on live. The team there, we're going to dive into everything on Four Gate Whiskey related. What's coming up for 2022 for those gentlemen. But until then, peace, cheers, salute, peace.